So for those of you who are new to our page, new to our community, my name is Claudia, and this is my mom, Marcella, and we're the co-founders of Minded Society, which is a friendship club for women over 30. And our goal is to, oh, there's Helena. Our goal is to just bring women together and encourage female friendships, the power of female friendships. And we're going to be starting this live series called You're Not Alone, where we're going to be inviting special guests like Helena here.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So
Yay.
excited. I'm just explaining what this is all about.
Yeah.
So we're going to be bringing on special guests like Helena to talk about their journeys and how they got to where they are today, and really just inspire us all and act as expanders for us all to take a leap of faith when we need to not feel so alone in our journeys, and to know that we really are a community. The more that we speak about what we've gone through, the more we realize that we're not alone in this process. So Helena, we're so excited you're here. Yeah. I would love it if you would introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and first off, I love that you mentioned expanders, like uplifting, and I think that's so important when people see that what someone has done or embodies in their life is possible or doable or realistic. When we see that, it's like our subconscious believes it's true, and when our subconscious believes something, then our reality starts reflecting that. And so it's so important to be around people that are just reflecting back that which we want or aspire to in ourselves. And I just love what you're doing. I love this community, this work that you're doing. It's so important. Friendship is such an important thing to have, especially as women. I think female friendship is so empowering and wonderful and so sacred and so special, and so I love that you guys are doing this. But yeah, so I'm an American living in France, and I'm an astrocartographer, traveling the world full time, doing my passion, living from my heart, creating things that inspire me and light me up and that flow to me in the moment spontaneously. And I've just seen how when I follow my heart and lead from my intuition, amazing things kind of seamlessly flow into my life. But it's been a process. It's been a lot of trial and error. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've gone down different paths. I've tried everything, and through that experimentation, I've learned like how I can make life work for me and work through me. And so yeah, I share online to just kind of share my life in hopes that it might inspire and expand other people.
I love that. So can you tell us about, I know you kind of started your career in New York, mm-hmm. which is very different from where you are now. Can you tell us about that transition and what made you get into astrocartography and also leave the country?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it all stems from childhood, as anything does, if you've got a hard childhood or you go through a hard time as a kid, you kind of want the opposite of what you grew up with. And for me, I wanted a big city life. I wanted to be in a cosmopolitan place where people were doing things and being successful. And because I grew up in a little beachside surf town and I loved it, looking back, you don't realize what you have until you leave. And I loved it, but it was definitely, I wanted something more. I wanted something bigger for my life. And so when I was 18, I moved to New York City to pursue acting. And I had done theater my whole childhood, teenage years. It was my passion. It was the thing I loved. And when I moved to New York City, I started doing the theater scene. I did an off-Broadway play for a few years. I did a lot of auditions, some summer stock theater, and I loved it for a few years, but I found my heart starting to gravitate and want different things. Specifically, like I loved Instagram back when Instagram was like super, like, in 2013, 2012, when you would just put on filters.
Yeah.
Such a fun time for Instagram. Oh my gosh. And so I just loved spending hours on Instagram, filtering photos, taking photos, blogging. And I just noticed I would spend less and less time working on my scripts or working on my acting portfolio, and less time wanting to do that. And instinctively, I kept wanting to do other things in my free time. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. This keeps coming up. But it was actually when my dad died very suddenly that my life kind of took a U-turn. And I was working a 9-to-5 office job. I was like, my soul was being sucked out of me. I was working at an agency for modeling and actors. And I was like, I got so close to like this whole world that I had dreamed of my whole life, to experience this, to meet actors, to see the business firsthand. And I just realized it wasn't aligned with my values. It wasn't anything that I felt like my heart like synced up with. It's a lot about money and youth and what you look like. And it was just something that I just didn't resonate with. And so my dad died, and that made me rethink everything. I was like, wait a second, we only get 2 weeks of vacation a year, and most people don't take those 2 full weeks. I was told in my office job that you can take 2 weeks, but most of us take 1 week. And I just remember thinking like, this is so backwards. This is so weird.
Yep.
And so I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to start my own business, because I can't, like, I'm not gonna work for someone else and only get 2 weeks. So I picked up a camera. It was an impulse thing, but it was also led from that place of like calm knowing, and it's claircognizance, and we all have an ability to connect with our intuition in different ways. But it was that gut peaceful feeling that like swept over me that said, get a camera and start doing this. And so I got a camera. Got a credit card. I didn't have the money for the credit card. I mean, for the camera, but I bought the camera. I bought this really expensive camera, these expensive lenses. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it, like full force. And so I literally started a business. I did a few photo sessions. I taught myself everything. My mom was a photographer, so I knew, the basics of composition and things like that. And I just went for it. And I started a business doing photography. I did that for 5 years. Family and children's portraits. I loved it. It was a great segue into like my first life and then my second life, like the first chapter of my life and the second. It was like I needed something to get me out of that world.
Yeah, that was your bridge.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, it was a bridge. Exactly. It was like it was able to connect me back with my heart again, with my intuition. I was really developing my intuition during that time, and like figuring out like, what is it? How do I listen to it? How do I, get that clarity from my inner voice, and building that relationship with that. And then also the creativity, and also the ownership to like travel and like get to travel the world and do what I love. And so that was a great 5 years doing that. And I still love photography, but then I moved to France. My husband got a job teaching English in France, and it was during actually COVID. It was right when COVID happened. I was still doing the business. I was still doing the photography business. And COVID happened. And I just realized like, I'm going to need a job that allows me to do it from anywhere, because it was the work I was doing was so based on place. And like, I had to be there in person to do the work. And I kind of realized if I want to travel full time and like be able to work from anywhere, I need to find something where I'm working online. And here's the big thing. I didn't go about finding it. Like I never went about searching for what's the thing.
That's how everything happens. When you are aligned, things come to you. You don't need to go and search for
exactly.
anything. They come to you.
Exactly. It was like I took a class on astrocartography and I fell in love with it. And I just was looking at maps in my free time for several years. And that was just what I did in my free time, was looking at charts and maps. And then it was like, okay, I'm doing this all the time. Like all of my free time when I'm not doing other things is literally just looking at charts. And I was like, why don't I just go for it? And so it was November of 2021. I was in meditation, and it's the place where all my the best ideas come from, is like when you're still and you're eliminating the clutter and the noise and media and turning everything off, and you just get still. That's when like ideas can come through you. And I was told in meditation to write a blog post on astrocartography and make a YouTube video. And it was just something I loved. And so I was like, okay, I'll just share it. And flash forward to now, I'm doing this full time, and it's something that just lights my heart so much. I'm so fulfilled. I'm helping people. It's impactful. And it's also just like, it's my dream lifestyle too. So it's like, it's weird.
No, you know what?
Amazing.
You know what I love the most about you is that you are not just teaching astrocartography or doing readings, you know, and slow living, because that's another part of your living.
Yes.
But you are not just teaching, you are living it. You yourself, in your body, you are experiencing everything, you're experimenting with everything that you have learned, because we are surrounded right now with so much information. Like everything is information. We are bombarded all day long with information. But it's like nobody goes out there and start experimenting and showing us what is actually to live the things that they are teaching. So that's the part that I really appreciate the most about you and everything that you are doing. That's you know, like
and I'm a big believer that it's like when you live something, it's like you re-radiate it. And people can feel that too. And like for me, you know, a big part of my life is living slowly and with intention. And that means honoring my energy, honoring my inner voice. If my inner voice is like, take a week off Instagram, I take a week off Instagram. If my inner voice is like, shut down for a week, I do that. Like, I never, even if my mind is like, no, you can't do that. My mind's like, no, you can't like not do that. My heart is like, no, trust yourself, listen. And every single time that I honor that and I honor that voice, like life feels easier, life feels more natural and flow, and also results, and just life itself supports me every time I trust myself, every time I take action from that weird, like I call it weird, but it's like this knowingness that's comes out of nowhere, and it can feel like
it's just your inner self
that
knows exactly what is your path, and is you are using your inner self as your compass, and that is the perfect way to live. But it's and the beauty here is that you sharing that with all of us. You are like letting us know, not just by telling a story, but we can see that when you make the decisions, it's not that hard. That change is not that hard. That it doesn't matter what decision you make, you can always course correct in the middle of the path. It doesn't matter, nothing is going to happen. We live in such a weird place where we are all the time scared of change, of everything, of doing things different. We try to do everything like the rest of the world, and it's not the way we should live. Everybody should find their own way that makes them happy and live in that place, in that now. That now can change later, but for now, that's what makes you happy, and what makes you full, and what makes you live the life in awe. That's the most beautiful thing about you. Seeing you around, investigating, living in awe all the time. I love that. I love that.
If you guys don't follow Helena, you have to, because she is constantly on the move, and she's living proof of how different locations can bring out different aspects of ourselves and aspects of our lives. She is a wealth of knowledge. So if you guys don't follow her, make sure you do. And Helena, I wanted to touch on something, because we're talking a lot about intuition and about trusting ourselves, but that's really hard to do, especially if you're afraid of change, which a lot of us are. So do you have any tips or any sort of practices that you do? Obviously you do meditation, but anything that you can share with us to help us kind of tap into that inner knowing and just trusting that whatever that leap might be isn't going to be as scary as we think it is?
The first thing, and this is kind of jumping right into it, is like, go to the biggest fear. Like, what is the biggest fear that's holding you back? And thinking, what is the worst that can happen if I don't trust myself? Or what's the worst that can happen if I take this action and do this thing? And that might be kind of scary to think about sometimes. But when you really sit down and think about, like, what's the worst that can happen? You've got nothing to lose. You really don't, ever. And that was something that when that clicked for me and like sunk in for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna do whatever lights me up. And I'm not gonna hold myself back. And I'm just eliminating that. Well, I'm still gonna feel the fear. The fear always comes up.
Of course.
But I'm doing it anyway. I'm taking action regardless of the fear. And I think just thinking about what's the worst that can happen and like really sitting with that and then asking, is this true? Is this something that could happen? And if so, how would I handle it? Okay, thinking about it practically, I can deal with it. And I think like getting that realistic sense of the worst that can happen really helps develop courage and also that awareness of the big picture perspective, which is life is precious, life is short. You might as well try the thing and trust yourself and just go for something. And that's actually something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is this idea that our thoughts hold us back. We overthink so much, you know,
all the time.
Yeah. Who am I to say this when there's so many Instagram accounts? Who am I to share my story? So many people are doing this. That is something I hear from people time and time again. And like my response is like, who are you not to? Like you have your own unique story. You have your own unique essence, the way you say things, your energy, the way you do things. Like it's literally a disservice not to show up. It's literally holding yourself back. You're literally doing everyone a disservice, including yourself, when you don't trust yourself and lead from courage. And so that's a first thing, is like, first off, like think of that, because that's a big thing that like changed for me.
That's huge. And that's actually such a practical, that's something I love, when people share tangible things you can actually do versus like a theory, you know, like, like that's something, if I'm thinking of moving to a big city or whatever, taking like the next step in life, and you really sit down and even writing it out, what's the worst that can happen? And writing out what can come out of that. It just puts everything into perspective, because you're so right. What's in here is 100 times worse than what the reality is actually going to be.
Well, that's being a human. Our mind is trying to keep us safe, you know, that survival mode that we live all the time. But what we need to know is that that's not true, that you can overcome that. That's just like a glass ceiling that we had, that we need to just cross that, like break that limitation. Like, because actually after that nothing happens.
And that's
usually nothing happens.
That's the thing. The worst thing will often not happen. Like ever. That won't happen. Literally, fear and the mind, your thoughts, that is the biggest thing that's holding anything back, like really. And I think also, you know, my Scorpio rising is coming out, but that sense of, for me, I have a really solid, peaceful relationship with death. And I think that was because of my dad. I never had a good relationship with death before my dad died. When my dad died, suddenly it made me rethink everything in life. And that made me go on a spiritual journey of, you know, getting to the root of, what does it mean, time? What does time mean? What does life mean? All of these things. And I think because I have that kind of subtle background noise, and it's a very peaceful, not morbid energy, there's almost this sense of like, who am I not to? Or like, why not take action? You know, because like our time is so precious and it really matters. Like, and I know that's so cliche, but literally like your time matters and your life matters. But specifically your enjoyment matters. Like what you do, like your heart, you're living with passion, living with purpose, feeling like what you do every day, you love coming to the thing every day, the process, you love the thing. And I think that's so important. And if we're not doing things that feel wonderful to us, it's not, like, it sucks the life out of us, honestly. And I think
it's like you are not, if you don't live that way, it's like you are not living your life.
Exactly.
The life you came here to live. You are living a life that somebody told you is the perfect life to live, right? But it's not what you are supposed to do. So listen, in listening to your inner voice, in trusting in you, in knowing that you have everything you need, to overcome any struggle. I know some few times are gonna be like not as easy, but usually when you are in alignment, everything comes in the right moment and the right place.
Exactly.
So
true.
And, you know, adding to the intuition part, like journaling has been the thing that's like been a foundation for me, is like writing to my inner voice in my journal. Dear universe, what would you have me know today? Dear source, dear God, dear inner voice, dear intuition, dear life.
that's so
What do you
beautiful.
want me to talk about today? Like I did that this morning. I was feeling so heavy with the news that's going on in the world, and I sat down with my journal and I said, dear God, what would you have me say? And it just, this script channeled through me, and I posted a video this afternoon. It was like literally just connecting with that heart and allowing the words to flow through the page, whether that's, dear intuition, what should I eat today? Like what would go into my body today? And just that consistency of constantly showing back to your journal, like coming back to your journal to commune with that. Or if it's more, you know, to yourself, like maybe you're speaking to yourself, you put one hand on your heart, one hand on your stomach, and you're like, what should I do today? What is the best and highest good for me and everyone else? You know, and just waiting for the answer. And if you don't hear anything, ask again, ask a different question, ask why, ask inner voice, why am I not hearing anything? Inner voice, what is blocking me from connecting with you? You know, like go deeper instead of just not hearing anything and then avoiding it. Like go deeper, and you might hear something like a word. Oftentimes I just feel a feeling, like it's just a sense of, you need to talk about this, and then I just allow the words to kind of come up as I'm writing. But that's just a way that you can like practically connect with your intuition, is having a journaling practice.
And doing it like frequently.
Yes.
If you do it, the more frequent you do it, the more you recognize the voice. Because at the beginning you are going to doubt. It's like, really? You know, my higher self, God, whatever you wanted to call it, is that really coming from there? Or is just my imagination, is my mind talking rambling to myself?
Exactly.
And it's not, but the more you do the practice and the more you can actually see yourself, that whatever is coming to you is true, is real, the more you are going to trust.
Yeah.
So it's going constantly there.
So Helena, I know we're going to get into astrocartography in our Zoom party, which I'll talk about in the end, but can you give us can you explain like how it has changed your life and how you use it as a tool in terms of like making bigger decisions and taking leaps of faith?
Yeah. Well, you know, I learned about astrocartography when I moved to France, and it was after I had traveled around the world and experienced different energies, some difficult, some easy, some brought really cool, amazing opportunities in my life over a period of time. Others, you know, I look back at my life and I'm like, oh yeah, I met my husband literally on my love line, and he's that line that he has there too. And you see that a lot with couples, like when people are looking for love or a partner, it's like you see that relationship line and then the other person is embodying that line. There's different lines that we can see and use that technically with. But you know, even like my life changed when I moved to France, because I found my place where I feel most safe, most at home. I connected with like how to live slowly and appreciation and beauty and noticing beauty, and that that sensory connection with life all was like really tapped in when I moved to France, because I had certain things happen in my relocated chart. And so this is all based on your birth chart. Right. So when you move, your chart shifts houses. So the areas of life are getting more detail, more nuance, more activations. Things are clicking when you move to different parts of the world. And I'm a big believer in fate. I'm a big believer that where you're going to go, you're meant to go. There's no need to worry about it. There's no need to stress about anything. You're going to go exactly when you're meant to go. But I moved to France, and it was like, you know, my sense of like purpose really connected when I moved to France. That was one thing. And you could see it in the relocated chart. There was also just like the activation of astrology and the activation of teaching and publishing and being an author. All of these things that were in the birth chart, that were said in the birth chart, it all happened, and perfectly in timing when I moved to France and activated that particular area of life that wasn't activated when I was living in California or like living in my hometown. So by moving, I shifted a lot of things, and also timing. It's kind of like right place, right time. It's like when the magic happens is when you get that intersection. And that's what happened for me in France. Was like my life, like just everything bloomed, you know. Meeting my husband was all about moving to New York City. The whole, like, a huge part of my life and the story of New York for me was like meeting my husband and making my friends and dating. Like that whole relationship part of my life was such a huge theme there. When I moved to France, it's more about home and connecting with home and what is culture and tradition and roots, but also that connection with the ninth house of astrology. So you can use astrology, the astrology of place, to see where important people might come from you in the world, like where important connections are, where you might have a better time making clients, coaching people, where it's best to go to school, where it's best to focus and be productive and have good critical thinking skills, where it's best to be a daydreamer, to be a poet, a painter, an artist. There's so many specific archetypes that we activate when we go to different places. And it's amazing how immediately the energy, you feel it immediately when you travel somewhere, but also when you move, the longer you're in a place, the more that relocated chart starts becoming your life story. And that's the power of astrology, but specifically locational astrology.
Wow, that's so incredible. I can't wait to like fully dive into it.
There's a lot of moving parts to it, but yeah, I won't go into like all of the crazy like intricacies of the Zoom call, but I'll definitely be giving it a great like story of how you could do this on your own.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. That's so amazing. I had, just so you know, I had my reading a few days back. Oh my God. It was so amazing. So eye-opening. Everything was so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The way I feel in the place I'm right now.
Yeah.
How I thought it would be the place I might move or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. It's so on point.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is so clear, and especially if you are really connected, you know, with the places, you feel the energy of the places and you are very attuned with that. Oh my God, you would have never described my life in any other way. That the way you did it was so perfect, like on point.
And when you're connected with your inner voice, your intuition, and you sense something, and then we look at the timing and we say, oh yeah, timing wise in this part of the world, you're going through this hard transit, or you're feeling the desire to move because of this and this. It's like you already know that. And the map is a reflection and showing you why, and it's showing you the specifics of what's going on. And I think that the thing that astrocartography is so great, it's so great at planning your travels and planning your vacations and your life and where you want to go next. But it's also just such a great way to get clarity, and also like, that's what's going on. That's why this has been happening. It's insane how often this happens with my clients, where I'll be saying, are you having a difficult time right here? Or did this just happen to you? Did you just connect with someone in this area? And it's like, people just feel this sense of relief.
Exactly.
And this sense of like, I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just me that I'm, you know, I cannot adjust to this place because it's me. No, it's not you. It's the energy of the place interacting with your energy,
Right.
which is individual for everybody, because this place might be the perfect, happy, enjoyable place for another person. For me, it's like a heavy place.
And that's why I used to do travel blogging for years, and I'd be like, top 5 reasons why you gotta visit this place. And then I learned astrocartography. I was like, I don't want to say that because someone might not like this, a place that I love, because the energy is super different for them.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Well, Helena, we are at our time. So I wanted to ask you one last question. Yeah. What do you want to leave everybody with who might be feeling overwhelmed with maybe like a big life decision that's coming up, a big change, a big move, what sort of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I would say first unplug, even if it's just for a day, you know, like delete the New York Times app, delete Instagram for a day or two, and take yourself out on a walk in nature if you can, or just, you know, be in your room or whatever, and just listen to, you could put some classical music on, but really connect with the stillness that's within your inner voice. Connect with the instinctual, authentic gut response instead of overthinking it. And then lastly, trust yourself. Whatever comes up for you in those moments of silence, in those moments of peace, really trust that and honor that and allow that to guide you rather than anything else.
Amazing.
Love it.
I love it. Thank you, Helena. This was so fun. So if any of you guys are interested, we're doing a Zoom party with Helena on Thursday. It's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be a members only event for our Minded Society members. We're going to do a little astrocartography 101. We're going to have a Q&A session. So if you guys are interested in diving deeper into what astrocartography is, then I invite you all to join our link. The link is in our bio. You can join through there. The first month is free, and then after that it's $9.99 a month. So we are so excited to like welcome anybody who's interested in coming into this and learning more from you, Helena, and having you be an expander for women in our community.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, this is just such amazing work that you guys are doing. Like, truly so important, and finding community, you know, people who value the same things, but people who uplift you and inspire you and encourage you, and you know, it's so important. And I love what you guys are doing, and I'm just so excited to see this grow and blossom. And yeah.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you
So much. We will see you on Thursday.
Yes, see you then.
Bye.
Bye.